Hi, I'm Terry Foster, and I'm a fellow for the Constellations Center for Equity in Computing here at Georgia Tech. This is part 2 of the Java variables assigning versus comparing variable types. So in part 1, we talked about the description of assigning and comparing different variable types, primitive versus non-primitive. In this part 2, we're going to show the examples in our coding editor using CodeHS's sandbox. So I have a little sample program here that I created. It uses some of the examples from part 1's video. We have 2 variables here. Both are integers. The first variable is num of followers, which indicates how many, or which is named from how many followers a user may have on a social media platform. Our second variable, which is a final variable, which means the value does not change. We want it to be constant. It is called hit first milestone. We have assigned the value 1000 to it as well. And we want to test these variables out to make sure that the assignments were done correctly. So if I run my code, I get on the first line, number of social media followers is 1000. And that's what I have here on line 8. Print out what the value is of this variable with this text in front of it, okay? And then the second line over here, we have first milestone value 1000. So again, on line 12, we're printing out the value of our variable first milestone, which is also 1000. So we just wanted to confirm that those variable assignments were done correctly. The values have been assigned correctly. Now on line 14, we want to compare these 2 variables. Do they equal each other? Well, to do that, we have to have these 2 equal signs here. Remember, for comparing is 2 equal signs. For assignment is 1 equal sign. Do these 2 equal each other? If they do, the value true will be sent into this Boolean variable called first milestone. If they don't equal each other, false will be sent into this variable first milestone. And then we're going to print out the value here on line 16. And so that's what we have here. Has user passed the first milestone? True, because these 2 equal. But just for laugh's sakes, I guess, let's go ahead and change the value of first milestone to 100. Well, actually, we'll keep that 1000 because it's final. We're not supposed to change that. We'll change our number of followers to 100. The person only has 100 followers. They've only been on social media for a little while. Probably like my social media account, just 100 followers. So let's run this now. We should get a false because 100 and 1000 do not equal each other. So let's test that out. And we do. And it printed out 100 for the first line because that is what the value we have in num of followers, and false when it was time to compare them. So this is how you would assign and compare primitive values, integers, booleans, doubles. This is how we would compare and assign those types, primitive types. Now let's look at a non-primitive type. I'm going to comment out my code here because I have some more code for us below. So let's look at non-primitive types down here, and I'm going to uncomment this out. So I have this one set up for us. So this is going to give us or show us an example of using a string assignment and a string comparing. So we're talking about strings here, non-primitive data types. And in this first example on line 50, we have a string called password entered. So we're going to allow the user to enter in a password. And actually, I'm going to comment out line 52 because on this first example, we're going to automatically predetermine the assignment of the data and not let the user provide input. So if I run this code, it says is access allowed true. Well, let's break this down. So my first line 50, I assign the value open305. That's my password. We have on storage in our systems, we have a variable called password stored. It has already stored your password from the first time when you created your login account or your account, and it has the value open305. So do these 2 equal? Well, remember, this is non-primitive, so we don't use 2 equal signs here. We will use a method called dot equals, and we will pass in the second variable that we're testing. So typically what this looks like is, this is what this method would look like, just dot equals. And then what do you want to pass in there? I can pass in the actual value of open 305. But in this case, we already know that's been assigned to a variable. So let's just pass in the variable, put that variable in there. And now it's checking to see if password entered, which is right here, is equal to password stored using a method called dot equals. Because this is a string, a non-primitive type, therefore you must use a method. Methods are used on objects, and a string is basically an object. It's not a primitive type. So that works. So now let's comment out this line and allow the user to enter in the information, and we're going to see if they equal each other. So I should get a prompt asking me to enter my password, which is what this line 52 does. Read line allows me to read in a string from a user. So I'm gonna purposely miss this one. So I'm gonna type in open 305 without the up, just open 305. And I should get false, correct? Because open 305 does not equal what I have on storage here, which is open up 305. So let's run this one more time, and I'm gonna actually get it right this time. Open up 305, and I got it true. So for strings, we use the dot equals method to compare. We still use the equal sign to assign values to a string variable, but when it's time to compare, we use the dot equals. So the curriculum reference standards and resources for this activity. So you can find lessons about this activity under 2.2 in CodeHS and 2.15. The CSTA standards are indicated here for this activity in this lesson. Additional resources may also be found under these websites. And to connect with us, you may visit us here at our website, you may email us, or you may contact me directly with my email indicated here. This concludes part 1 of the video. Part 2 will show the coding using a sandbox. Thank you for watching.